Hey everybody, how's it going? Marcos Villegas for Fight Up TV here in Hamburg, Germany, being joined with Eddie Hearn. Eddie, thank you for taking the time out. I know I won't take too long of your time in this interview. First off, the Jaron Ennis saga of fans accusing him that he's ducking from a Vergil Ortiz fight. What happened there? Because at the post-fight, you guys had mentioned maybe it's time to move up to 154.
Absolutely. The decision, though, was not to. So I feel like, I feel sorry for Jaron because it's just the sport that you're in. But ultimately, he's not a 154-pound fighter yet. If he was, he'd be fighting Vergil Ortiz. But, you know, after that fight, he looked at what to do next. We got an offer from Riyadh season. Firstly, the offer was at 147. I checked that because I thought, that's strange. They came back to me a couple of days later and says, no, it is at 154. I said, no problem. Let's go to Jaron. I said, Jaron, do you want to do the fight? He said, I haven't really made a decision yet whether I'm moving up. I said, well, you need to make a decision. Well, how long have I got? I said, well, the way these guys work, today, really, or tomorrow. And he just said, look, I really want to try and unify at 147. If I go to 54, I fight Vergil Ortiz 100%. I love the fight, but I really want a unification. So that's the decision that he made. Obviously, now we're chasing those unification fights. Teofimo Lopez, you've seen the stuff on that. Bob Arum came out. We actually loved that fight, but he still wants to unify. So if we can't unify, he's got a decision to fight Teofimo Lopez, or if he does move up to 54, he will fight Vergil Ortiz straight away. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know, sometimes a little bit of narrative, you know, go, oh, he's ducked him. It's like, he's not gone to 54. If he would have gone to 54 and not fought Vergil Ortiz, I think I would understand the criticism. But we're 100% staying at 147 for the next fight, and maybe another one, but we have to deliver now that unification.
How much movement is there for that Teo and Vergil Ortiz? Would it be on a pay-per-view? Like, where are we at with that?
What?
Against, Jaron and Teofimo.
Yeah, that's the offer. You know, the offer is to do it on ESPN pay-per-view and the Zone pay-per-view. I think without, you know, if unification, don't forget, Boots has fought Avanesian and Chudazian, right? Okay, like, one was a mandatory we had no choice about, but he really needs a big fight. And he wants that big fight to be a unification. Now, if we can't get the unification, it's tough, but we then have to look at the other options. And the other options could be Teofimo Lopez or Vergil Ortiz. But he's just not moving to 54 yet. One thing I promise you is he will either be in a unification or a massive fight next. We have to. So
Teo trump the unification in your end because it's a bigger economic fight?
For me, I love the fight.
Yeah.
But for him, it's not really the money. He wants to unify the division. That's the absolute target and goal. So when I went to him about Teofimo, he was like, oh, that's a cool fight. Yeah, but just want to, like, you got to push for the champions. I said, I will, but this is also on the table. So first priority, exhaust all options on the champions. And then if not, I think that's a great fight.
So then, where's he at right now at this point? He has that Teo offer, but what are you guys going to do?
So we're negotiating with Stanionis. We're negotiating with Barrios. Brian Norman won't take the fight. He wants a warm-up fight first. And that's it. So, pretty transparent. We've got to try and close Stanionis or Barrios, or we look at Teo. Or, if he does want to move up, he's got to go straight into that Vergil Ortiz fight. We're not going to go into any other fight because, you know, people like that fight. And that's a fight we really like as well.
I spoke to Conor the other day, and he's pushing for the Barrios fight. So what's going on there?
My conversations with Louis de Cubas right now, I said to him, you've got Conor Benn for this much, and you've got Boots Ennis for this much. I think Barrios likes the Conor Benn fight because I think he thinks that it's a winnable fight. I'm not sure I agree with him, but I think it's a really good fight. For me, the financial reward of Benn Eubank is much, much, much bigger than Ben Barrios. But Conor, especially being out here this week, really likes the WBC World Championship fight. So we'll have to see.
So where does that leave the Eubank fight?
In the air at the moment. I mean, it's still, I met with Ben Shalom yesterday. You know, we're negotiating that fight. Whether we get there or not, we'll have to see.
If you had to, like, put a percentage on what's the most likely, what would it be? For which one? For Conor and Eubank?
I mean, Conor's either fighting Barrios or Eubank. That's it. So 50-50, which way it goes.
What happened to Madrimov? A lot of people feel it kind of convenient that he got sick and he's out of the...
I knew they would. It was quite funny because we made the fight to be honest, when we made the fight, I spoke to Vadim Kornilov, and he said, yes, we agree to everything. I've got to be honest with you, he's not actually been that well. And I said, all right, well, and I'm thinking to myself, if we pull out this fight now, I know what everyone's going to say. Oh, we don't want to pull out the Bokacic fight. We're getting a lot of money for that fight, and we're getting a lot of money for the Ortiz fight. We'd rather do both. Then about 3 days later, he went to the hospital and he got diagnosed with acute bronchitis. And they said it's impossible for him to fight. So he had to pull out. And the fight with Vergil Ortiz remains. Obviously, when we decided to make that fight, we knew that if he had a tough fight against Bokacic, if he lost against Bokacic, that the Ortiz fight wouldn't happen. So those doubts have gone. Madrimov Ortiz is 100%, and that lands on February 22nd.
Also on February 22nd, Shakur and Scofield. Just comment on, because a lot of people feel Scofield's, it's very ambitious for him to try to go it.
You know me, right? I get accused of something.
Because of the Castro losing.
Said he's just. But I agree with Oscar. I think that it's probably come a little bit too early for him. But let the kid chase greatness. He's a really good fighter. He's getting a lot of money, and he's getting a shot at greatness. Like if he was to beat Shakur Stevenson, Shakur's coming off a hand injury or this, and Scofield's an underdog in the fight, but I respect it. And by the way, if Scofield wins, he's changed his life forever. But if Scofield puts up a great performance, his stock goes through the roof and he becomes a real name in the sport. So, it's the difference. Sometimes it's like you've got to weigh up. I know, don't be afraid to go into a fight as a big underdog if you think the fighter can compete and do well. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's not always about winning, because I don't believe that, but sometimes you've got to let him go. And I like the fight. There's going to be a lot of back and forward, and I believe Shakur wins, and then there's a Pader fight. Will be next in May. It's another great fight.
And then you hope Tank. I know he's announced that he's retiring at the end of 2025. I don't know if you believe that or not, but
I don't know. I thought he was very sincere. Sometimes the hunt
fed up with
maybe, but boxing can do that to you. I think in general. So I think that maybe he wants to do something different with his life. We can only look after our own, and that's Shakur Stevenson. And for me, Scofield, Zepeda, Tank. That's the plan for 2025. And if we were to do that, I think Shakur against Tank is one of the best fights in boxing. Two unbelievable fighters.
If it's not Tank, who else is there, you think?
Then you have to really look at, obviously, unifying. You've got Barancic. Does Lomachenko fight again? I don't know. Shakur will probably move up, try and become a 4-division world champion as well at some point. So, but first things first, Floyd Scofield, Feb 22nd.
The criticism of your matchmaking, I know you did an interview and your soundbite was quoted, but just when people bring that up, what goes on through your mind?
I find it, boxing's strange anyway, just what goes on, and you as a fan want good fights, right? You want competitive fights, but yet when someone loses who's not supposed to lose, I get criticised for my matchmaking. It's one of the most bizarre and moronic things in boxing. It just doesn't make sense. Forget the product, which that's important as well. Guys who aren't good enough, either in general or on the night, will get beat. Okay? Firstly, there's no shame in getting beat. It just means you weren't good enough. It's just sport, right? Sometimes you play a game, you're a top team, you get beat by an underdog team. It just happens, right? But also, if you want to talk brutally about the business, Mark Castro, for example, has had, I think, 5 or 6 10-round championship fights. The guy that he boxed was an Argentinian, 20-2, decent, nowhere near world level. Keyshawn Davis, who Mark Castro's beaten multiple times in the amateurs, is 12-0. Mark's 13-0, right? He has a fight with the Argentinian. Poor performance, in my opinion. Gets beat. What part of he's not good enough do you not understand? And it's not he's not good enough, off you go. It's you can come back and go again. But what I'm looking for, once I build people in 5 or 6 10-round championship fights. I'm looking for those guys with Mark's amateur pedigree to kick on and start to look at top 15 level guys. This Argentinian was nowhere near top 15. Nowhere near. Right? In fact, Mark was like a 7-8 to 1 on favourite to win that fight, yeah? But they chose that opponent because they thought this is a good test. They failed the test. That's it. Do you know what I mean? Jalil Hackett wants to move a little bit quicker. He boxed the pretty average Puerto Rican guy. Actually put up a great fight because he completely fucked himself at the weight, and that's, in my opinion, why he lost. And he got beat. He's not good enough. Do you know what I mean? And then people respond on social media, oh, that's harsh on the fighters. What do you want me to lie? Well, you say he was good enough? I can't say he was good enough because he lost. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to, like, when you're matching a prospect, yeah, 6-rounder, 6-rounder, 8-round, yeah, that's like, you've got to at least not make it embarrassing. But once you start having 4 or 5 10-round fights, and we've invested hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in these fighters, I need to find out how good you are. And I'm not even throwing you in deep, by the way. I'm just throwing you in a level that I need you to cruise past, and you got beat. So that shows me you're either not at the level or you had a bad performance. Okay? And it's not, thanks very much, have a nice life. It's just, we need to evaluate where you are. Because as a business, we can't just keep throwing hundreds and thousands of dollars at you if you're not going to go on and become world championship level. Like, we shouldn't go soft in this instance. Like, we don't throw fighters into the wolves in the 6 fight, 10 fight. We just want to know that you're on the right path to reach world level. And not everybody is good enough. And that's the reality. So I would rather be accused of making reasonably competitive fights where sometimes your prospect loses than just giving them just shit. So they get to 16-0, 20-0. They've never boxed anyone. They step up to top 15 and just get spanked straight off the bat. So I'll continue what I'm doing. And if you don't like it, don't watch. But if you're good enough, you will be just fine.
Reality with Klitschko, he's here. He's stuck around. I don't know if you guys are going to meet, but is he going to come back in 2025? Like, how likely is that he comes back?
I don't think so, personally. I mean, I don't know. I had dinner with him the other week with His Excellency, and he's a great man. And he's still in tremendous physical condition, but it's just father time. In my opinion, you can't be out of the ring for, what would it be, 8 years? Like, you know. But listen,
maybe it's a much-needed rest. I don't know.
Maybe. Listen, he wasn't...
Do you think he's one of those weird cases like Bernard?
He wasn't one of those guys that when he finished, he wasn't shot. I mean, he had a war with Anthony Joshua. It was a great fight. But I like Wladimir. I just, you know, he's a very bright, you know, he's got a lot going on in the politics world. But it's the hunger of boxing. It sucks you in. And you can't get out sometimes. So if it's something he has to do personally, and he's physically fit, and his health is in good place, who am I? Who are we to say no?
Based on the dinner you had, like, is the desire there? Like, did he tell you guys, like, I want to come back?
I think it's always there. I mean, you know, he's going to speak on his own behalf. I don't represent him, but I think he's a competitor and he's a winner, and that never dies.
Do you think, what would be the right matchup for him if he were to come back?
It's very difficult to come back in a top level fight, but you're not going to come back in anything but a top level fight, because what's the point?
I know Turkey the other day had mentioned he wanted him to come back, and mentioned the winner of, well, if Fury won, to put him in there with Fury.
Maybe.
Rematch.
Who knows? It all depends on, you know, how Wladimir is in the gym. Do you know what I mean? So.
What's going on with Anthony? Last one.
He's fit to resume training in January. I think you'll see him in the ring May or June, and we'll be watching next week very carefully, and I look forward to seeing you out there.
Yes, I'll be there.
Cheers.
All right,
Good to see you.
Eddie,
Cheers.
appreciate it.